Welcome back to another week of Unemployed with Mike Schaefer, even though I do have a job. But we haven't changed the name. We haven't changed really the guest list outside of Nebraska Ball Tuesday, which means it is Monday to start the week here. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day to those of you that are home. Make sure you know the reason why you're not at work here on Monday. You should at least consider that. And happy Monday to you, Kaleb. It is the last football day for college football of I guess not really the calendar year of the 2025 year. Is this the sort of day, do you get sad when we get here as it relates to college football? Is it you know what, it had been a long grueling season. The team of which I cover is often not really going to be this far into it, and so now I get to talk about fun things like what the head coach said on his radio program. How do you feel on a Monday where the college football season will come to a close when Indiana takes on Miami down in Miami in what is not a home game, but allegedly a college football playoff championship?
It's hit and miss for me because on the one hand, I'm excited for it. I've enjoyed watching the playoffs. I've enjoyed watching these all play out, but it's January 19th. And next year, it's going to be a week later. It's going to be on the 25th. This is the part where I go back to, I can't remember if it was last week or it was with the first episode of Unemployed, but like the calendar is so broken that you build everything up. And I get this for the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day bowls. Like it all kind of gets built up to there in the turn of the calendar. And then it's, oh yeah, you still have 3 weeks left. And it feels like it just drags on. And I'm excited to watch the game. I think it'll be fun. Can Indiana put together they won't be the greatest team of all time. I don't think there's anything that they've done, but to win 16 in a row, you're in an argument for greatest season for things that they had to do, for where their program was. Like there's a lot of things that they get to start looking at historically if they go undefeated. So that's fun. But at the same time, if you're not an Indiana or a Miami fan or a national writer, we've been covering transfer portal. We've been covering nobody went in the portal for volleyball. Nebraska men's basketball has their highest ranking ever, up to number 7 as of this hour for this week. There's a lot of other things going on that college football had everything dominated for several months, and especially bowl season for those 3 weeks. And then they just kind of let everyone else take over. You had NFL playoffs all weekend. You've got all the other things we're doing. And now it's like, oh, yeah, there's a national championship game tonight. And then we'll get, for those of us here, we'll get like a month off and you're into spring ball.
Yeah, I'm fairly intrigued for this game tonight. We're gonna dive into it towards the end of the show. But, with the college football calendar, the hard thing for me is unless you move the games up or play less games, neither of which seems to be something they want to do, you're just kind of stuck here with the middle of January malaise that you kind of have as you get to this national championship game. And a lot of it is that, around here, it's not going to be a big talking point because Nebraska is a long way from playing in such a game. And I don't know if it's the fact that Miami made it with 2 losses or what, but I feel like there's not a lot of buzz about this. And some of it could just be you're coming off of the divisional round series and you saw 2 games that went to overtime and 2 games that made your eyes hurt. And so, the 3 straight days of football, I don't know, maybe they have to like try to avoid having it come right off of the NFL playoffs. I'm not sure what it is, but I will be fascinated what they choose to do with the calendar because of the portal and the playoffs. And we know coaches no longer want the playoffs really going on when the portal is going on, but then you have to try to figure it out from the academic side of things. And someone's got to give, and no one ever wants to, and certainly not the TV networks who want their games and their money and everything else. So, this is just one of the endless questions that we can ask. How are they going to solve this? And we don't really know. And frankly, for as much as we might
answer, Mike, they won't. They won't solve the.
Famously, solving is not really the goal as it relates to college athletics. But I will also say this. I mean, for the most part, even if things just stay as status quo, I can absolutely live with this if the worst part of it is like, oh yeah, there's a national championship game on this holiday. There's worse things. I would
Yeah.
rather the national championship game holiday combination be more like January, 1. That seems like the good holiday for it.
Hmm.
If you have to, December 31st, because the NFL would trump you if it falls on a Sunday on January 1. But nonetheless, I mean, this is fine. This is what it is for now. And there's plenty of Nebraska news that we're going to dive into right now. And we will start at running back, where Nebraska thinks they don't need to add anyone. They've done such a tremendous job stocking this room during Matt Rule's tenure, prior to Matt Rule, where, prior to Matt Rule, they ended up with an All-American and Emmett Johnson. They don't want to, use that All-American to add more talent to the room because they like what they have. Kaleb Henry, there was a wide-ranging conversation for Matt Rule on Friday. A lot of things touched on, some of which we'll dive into, with Mike Ekeler and all of that. This was probably the thing where I was just most like, I don't understand what it is that we're looking at here, because I look at this running back room and I think, yeah, they could probably use some help. They look at this running back room and think, we didn't play any of these guys. We love what they have. Can you explain it to me?
So I wrote a piece for Husker Max over the weekend, and a lot of the pushback was, you just had an All-American. You just had a Heisman contender, which I need to let people know. You can have a campaign and not be an actual contender for the Heisman. Like, those are very different things.
Get votes? Like how many votes did he?
He was number 2 in the fan vote, Schaefer.
Oh.
He was a contender.
Could have been a contender.
But outside of me following my own free advice of don't get into social media fights with people who are clearly idiots. Like, yes, you had an All-American, but when you look back at what Nebraska had, now I need to go find my story, because I knew we were going to talk about this, but I also got like now I'm getting mad about it again.
Yeah, well, look, if anyone can carry the torch for being mad about where the running back room is, me, and has been me for most of the last decade.
Okay.
Because I grew up where Nebraska had good running backs upon good running backs. And when they said they liked a guy, it probably meant that he was a, top 3 or 4 round draft pick in the NFL. All right, go ahead.
So here it is. So it was everyone wanted to add somebody a year ago, but you brought back Emmett Johnson, and none of you guys thought that Emmett Johnson was going to have the season he had. And I think that would be pretty accurate. We all thought he was going to take a step forward. He was absolutely going to be the number 1. But to end up being top 10 all-purpose yards, like that was a surprise to be in the conversation for the Doak Walker, to be an All-American. Like, those things, yes, it was a little more of a surprise than if you would have taken a poll of people January 2025, or even when you got to fall camp, because like that, you knew that was your number 1. You had to see some of it. But what did Emmett Johnson do before last year? Before last year, Emmett Johnson had 207 carries for 1,009 yards and 3 touchdowns. Nebraska's returning running backs, top 4, I'll say Quentin Ives, Mekhi Nelson, Isaiah Mosey, and Connor Booth. They have combined, and the math gets funny here, for 50 career games, but 36 of those came this season. So, like, if you have 2 guys that played 13 games, that's 26 of your games already. They have combined to carry the ball 83 times for 410 yards and 5 touchdowns. So when you're saying, oh, well, you didn't need to add anyone last year and Emmett Johnson did this, okay, but you'd seen it on the field. You saw that production. You had, for those 4 guys, 27.7% of their combined career carries, 37.2% of their combined career rushing yards, and a third of their combined career rushing touchdowns in the bowl game where Emmett Johnson wasn't playing. So when you're looking at, okay, you have now gone 4 transfer portal windows without adding anyone. 4. You needed somebody to back up Emmett Johnson, and maybe his production is slightly lower, but you get more of a 1-2 punch. You never had that with these guys. And now you think that these guys with their returning production are going to magically do more. And maybe they play really, really well because you move to more of a mobile quarterback scheme. You've added these offensive linemen. You've made a change at offensive line coach. Like, there are things that can point you in that direction, but you haven't seen any of it on the field. Like, nobody has shown that they can go do that. So that's where it feels irresponsible. That's where it's like, hey, you said last year that others paid more, and Charmar Brown is now playing in a national championship game. You got the extension and came back and said, we can do whatever we want now. We have the money. And then you get to Friday, and Matt Rule says, well, when you look at the portal, we had to kind of use our money this way, so we like our guys. And it's like, well, if you wouldn't have brought up the money thing at all, I would have, like, it'd still be an issue. Why didn't you get a running back? But if you bring it up yourself, we had to use our money this way, that tells me you didn't have enough money. So what happened between the in season we've got enough and now we're back to January and we don't have enough? Like, that's a concern for me.
Yeah. I was doing the math on it. So I was looking at you said that I believe Emmett Johnson had like 1,004 yards. Is that what you had?
1,009.
1,009 yards in production. Would you like to know how many of those yards came against Big Ten teams?
Oh man, it was probably few and far between for his 1,009 before 2025.
No. It was 873 of those yards came against Big Ten teams.
Oh,
because he didn't play much in the non-conference games.
Oh, that's right.
Because he wasn't that valued by the staff at that time, or he hadn't made his move yet, or what have you. So he did the bulk of his damage for his career against the Big Ten schedule, thus proving that he was capable of being a Big Ten running back. Mm-hmm. And so then you wouldn't be talking about some of those yardages coming against Houston Christian and Akron, where the bulk of it comes from for them, or then Utah, which is one of the worst rush defenses in the country besides your own by the end of the year. So, part of it is, even if you wanted to go off of even if you were like, well, how much had Emmett really done? And it's like, quite a bit. You knew quite a bit of what you had.
Yeah.
You knew that he could be a Big Ten running back. I don't think we know that about Mekhi Nelson or Isaiah Mosey. And with Quentin Ives, we know they thought so little of him. He didn't play between games 3 and game 13 in the bowl game. So he didn't get a single carry in Big Ten play. And so I can't take you at your word when you tell us that you like your running backs if you barely utilized them. And I get Emmett Johnson was the bell cow and he got the lion's share of the work and all of that. And you take him off the field, you're going to be worse for it. It could very well work out for them, but to absolutely add no one to your running back room when it is obviously a problem, it feels like galaxy brain thinking. Like you're 7 steps ahead of everybody else for some reason, but nobody knows it yet because you're solving a problem that doesn't exist. But this is, in fact, a problem that does exist, and your solution to it is doubling down on why it's a problem to begin with. You didn't recruit particularly well at running back. None of these guys were D1. Excuse me. None of these guys had Power 4 offers to play running back. I mean, Isaiah Mosey had a ton of offers to be a wide receiver. He's in this position because you were horrible at recruiting running backs. And then you talk about how you didn't get a running back because you chose to use the money elsewhere. But you went and you added another wide receiver in Quasi Gilmer that is probably going to be pretty helpful. But how much money have you tied up to the wide receiver room relative to the running back room? And you just lost it all American. So you would have been able to go to any running back in the portal and be like, look what we just did. Look at what we have going on here. Maybe we can't give you as much money as this other program, but look at the production we need to replace. look at what we have to offer in terms of playing time and the way we can build our offense around a running back. And we've got Jeep Wade and Lonnie Teasley coming in, and we're rebuilding our offensive line. And none of that is happening because Mekhi Nelson and Isaiah Mosey had a nice day against Utah in a bowl game. Like that's what we're supposed to take away here. Like I'm just like dumbfounded by this. And so again, they might be able to get away with it. But at some point, you have to invest in the position. And they keep choosing not to. And even when you had an All-American season, you still only won 7 games out of it. You couldn't put up any points when Dylan Raiola was gone. And now Dylan Raiola's out of the program, so you have an entirely different quarterback. So who knows what it looks like. It's just, it just blows my mind that you look at this running back room and you think, yeah, this is comparable. Meanwhile, Ohio State, when they had Travion Henderson and Judkins goes into the portal, they have them both. They have 2 All-American running backs. Some programs manage to figure this out. Some programs manage to have a horde at the position. Some programs manage to have just an embarrassment of riches at running back. And yet at Nebraska, you're choosing between a guy that you took out of prep school because he wasn't taken as a high school recruit at that point in time, and a wide receiver that you converted to running back to help paper over the fact that you didn't have enough depth at the position because Quentin Ives got hurt early in fall camp last year. And then Quentin Ives, who you beat out Monmouth for. And I'm so tired of making it seem like it's these running backs' fault that they have the opportunity. It's not. And it's not, again, that they can't somewhat adequately perform the duty. It's that when you're trying to stop being a 6-6 or a 7-5 team and you talk about how you want to dominate, because Matt Rule has gotten them to respectability, and now they want to dominate. And that's what he told Zach Gelb last week. How the hell is this going to help you dominate when you don't even have power 4 quality running backs on your roster? Again, could work out, but these are the sort of things that I'm skeptical of when everybody knows that it's an issue and you go into the transfer portal and you don't add anything. And then you get on radio and you tell everyone, we love what we have. We just never played them, but we love them.
Look how shiny these toys are. Look how great they are. We're going to put them out there a couple times. Okay, hands off. We're going to hide them away. I've got one more note from my story that you can read. You can find it if you go to Husker Max or find any of my stuff. Just search it up. It's called "Money is Still Stopping Nebraska from Adding Transfer Running Backs." Emmett Johnson, more than just rushing, ended up a top 10 all-purpose season for Nebraska. Can you name the second leading rusher for Nebraska this season? And then where does that second leading rusher match up against the other 8 seasons that had an all-purpose running back in the top 10?
I think the second leading rusher at one point was Quentin Ives because of the
damage he ended up done. Third, and he got the bulk of his yards against Houston Christian.
So is it Mekhi Nelson? Is he second?
Mekhi Nelson with 147 yards on the season.
It's just
out of 8 seasons that had an all-purpose running back. Where does that 147 rank?
8.
8. And it's an easy 8. The second least amount of yards was Imani Cross with 447 in 2013 when Amir Abdullah had almost 2,000 all-purpose yards.
Do you know what I would give for an Imani Cross right now?
Which, by the way, so you have Amir Abdullah, Imani Cross, your third leading rusher that year, which, by the way, also had more than Quentin Ives, who was third. Terrell Newby. Yeah. So here's my question out of this. Here's my question for you.
What the hell are we doing here? Because that's generally my question with running backs.
Was Emmett Johnson being an All-American the worst thing that could have happened to Nebraska going into this offseason?
It shouldn't have been.
Because now they point to it and go, well, look, see, we developed this guy up. Look what the running back room did. Now we've improved the offensive line. Now Holgerson gets to have more of a run-first quarterback with him back there. We've got it figured out.
I hope they do.
Here are these guys who touched the ball 5 times all season.
I hope that Nebraska can continue to be the outlier school when it comes to these things. Just don't, you know, just go unconventional or opposite of what people think you should do and have it work out for you. It hasn't yet to this point, or at least in a meaningful way. But we will find out if the guys that they love are capable of doing this. Here's the other thing. Like, okay, the high end guys were more expensive than what you wanted to pay for. Are you really saying that there was no other running back that went in the portal that could have helped you in some meaningful way? There was
Even a
no
short
one.
yardage guy, like a
Yeah,
guy who all he does.
there was no one that could provide more for you than what you already have on your roster. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand why there's this like hesitancy for some positions for them to be like, yeah, we don't have to add anything here, or what we are going to add is everybody can tell it's not going to be a particularly meaningful addition. Meanwhile, Nebraska is going to be taking like 77 defensive backs between high school recruits and the transfer portal to just try to figure that out at some point in time. And obviously, they play a lot more defensive backs than running backs. I am familiar with the concept of math, so that one doesn't have to be explained to me. But there is clearly running back is not valued at Nebraska. I think that is, which is hilarious because we hear all the time about how they want to run the football and they want to do this and they want to do that and they want to be able to salt away games. And yet nothing seems to line up with it. And, EJ Barthel, who has had some good moments and some, I would argue, less than good moments, has really been able to come through with a running back recruit to this point, other than Amir Brown, and that doesn't help you because he's a 2027. So we'll see if he's still there. And you don't get any points for spotting Kawan Lacey. You couldn't hold on to him. And who's to say even if he was here that he would have A, started and then B, stuck around. So it's just a massive concern to me. I just don't get it. Like I truly do not understand what the plan here is at running back. But let's move from one position where go ahead.
Let's note the transfer portal is closed for guys to go in, except for players playing in the national championship tonight. And there's a lot of, can they get Jarmar Brown the second time around? Or third time, I guess, if you count high school recruiting. Well, you also have no guarantee that he's going into the portal. And then if he does, and you've already complained about money, probably can't afford him.
Why? I guess at this point, I'm assuming that door is closed because I don't know why Matt Rule would say what he did if it was still open.
So people don't think he's tampering? Like you say that and you go, he went in the portal. All right, let's go see what we can do.
We're worried about tampering now in this sport?
Again, this is the same coach who said, let's not worry about the optics. Whereas every single sentence has to be about the optics.
This offseason, it certainly has been. Well, let's talk about something else where the optics aren't looking great at the moment. That's Nebraska's defensive line, where they were unable to come away with Terrence Green, who committed to Alabama. There are crystal ball predictions in for Andy Burbia to flip from Nebraska to Clemson. The scuttlebutt is that academics could be an issue. They did end up with Owen. Is it Stoudemire?
Stoudemire.
Stoudemire.
I thought it was Stoudemire.
Yeah, Stoudemire, and then trying to think of who else the Jashir Whittington, another defensive lineman that they brought in. Again, this wouldn't be that bad on the surface if you felt like, and I think they have talent in that room. If you felt like Cade Petchak and Riley Van Poppel and Cameron Lenhart and whoever else was ready to make a big jump, and then they added these other players around it. The biggest thing for me is they've needed a space eater for 2+ years. They haven't been able to figure this out, whether it was Horace Lockett, Terrence Green, any number of the guys that they canceled visits of last year when they either decided they didn't need them or they didn't have the money to pay for them. And again, it's not a position that it's just going to have this massive amount of productivity, but it's someone that you need to eat offensive linemen to allow your other players to be productive. And I still don't know that they have it. I don't feel any better about this defensive line than I did at the start of the portal, which is sort of frustrating because the idea of the portal is that you go and improve your roster and you can improve the areas where you're weak. And I just don't think Nebraska's done that. they've done a nice job with the offensive line. I want to give them credit for that. They've done, I think, a pretty good job at linebacker, though. We'll see how it goes for Chambliss and for Foster as they make the jump up to the Big Ten. I caution a little bit of just assuming the production is going to be the exact same. We saw this play out with Watson Trent. Like, it's sometimes hard to go from group of 5 to the power 4. Kaleb, when you look at what they've done with the defensive line, I mean, do you think, do you reasonably on a confidence scale, let's say 1 to 5, how confident are you that there's an improvement off of what you saw last year? Taking all things into account, they have a different line coach, they have a different scheme, all of that stuff. Do you think that alone and can get better performances from some of these players?
And if you're including edge rushers, like with this, and you've got Roy Manning out there who's worked with Orich before, I mean, yeah, probably put me down. But here's the thing: out of 5, and like 5 being ultra confident, I'm probably a 2 or a 3. I guess so. Put me at a 2.5, just because we haven't seen the new scheme come in place. So, but like, you're expecting improvement. You haven't seen the guys come in and do anything, but you're expecting them to be better than the guys that left. But you're right. The not having somebody who can just take guys on in the middle of that line, that's the issue to me. And that's why when we were talking about what does Nebraska have left to do, and we were doing building blocks a week ago, it was, I would like to get another linebacker, preferably someone to play in the middle. Because if you don't have those guys who are going and eating up blocks, you've got to have guys who are really good at reading the play and picking up the slack on that next level when they get to you. So I'm not ultra confident, but some of that's just being, we haven't seen it, and we haven't seen these guys here, and you're losing a potential bigger body in the middle because of reportedly the class issue, a math class issue, and Clemson, who comes in and probably with more money, but also they're willing to take this on and try to get this fixed. But you're a program needing to get things figured out. Like, how do you not try to get this fixed right here? You're just down the river from them. So like there's a lot of questions that go into that, hurt my confidence level on it.
Yeah, the thing with the academics that I find kind of, it couldn't have come out of nowhere. So you would have known this coming in. You take that commitment because you're hopeful that you can also continue to add around it. So if you aren't able to keep it, or he isn't able to qualify, he would have been a bonus on top of it. Mm-hmm. And instead, now it's presented like, oh, well, academics are the big issue here. We're not sure if we can make this happen, yada, yada, yada. I'm still baffled as to how you didn't have Corey Brown in tow as soon as Elijah Robinson said no. I don't understand how you didn't have a defensive line coach until halfway through January. I don't understand what the strategy was. And it wasn't, Tim's been on here for 2 weeks talking about it's not a lack of money. Like, if it's not a lack of money, then it just kind of feels like people don't want to play for you, which again, you're coming off of Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmaker and guys like that 2 years ago that had monster seasons. A year ago for Ty Robinson had a big season. You had Jamari Butler. You've had guys that played well. There's something about it that the way this offseason has unfolded where it's hard to feel good about the plan. It's hard to feel good that they have people in place that are going to help Nebraska make a jump offensively or defensively, and it's January. So there's a lot of time for things to kind of change for you to feel better about things. But this was the period of time where you were supposed to be able to improve your roster. And I'm just sitting here on January 19th, and I just don't know that I think that they're markedly better or really any different than they were going into the bowl game against Utah. Like, is that too harsh? Is that unfair?
I do think, well, and some of this is you have to start weighing the guys who graduated too. Because if you look at just portal guys, just the guys who left via the portal and the guys who were added via the portal, I think Nebraska has come out ahead. But when you start to weigh in, especially some of those defensive guys who have left and graduated, and you get to the offensive side of the ball. And yeah, I do think the offensive line should be better, but it's not just because of personnel, it's because of the coach. But like you're graduating guys who are good. You're off to the NFL with Emmett. You are losing Dane Key, and I know that like you're looking at receptions and touchdowns, but guess what? If you're running anything outside, Dane Key is going to have a career in the NFL because he can block. Like that's the thing. When you were looking at shout out no block, no rock, I guess, but like Dane Key was a big-bodied guy who could go block outside. It was like getting a slim tight end 15 yards outside of the ball. So, like, there are guys who are doing things, and Heinrich Harburg, who wasn't as dynamic of maybe a gadget thing that you wanted or you were hoping to do, and they got weird with the way they used him when he'd come in as at quarterback and just sneak. But then there were a couple of times that they got creative. It's like, okay, once you start to add in all of the other things, it kind of just feels like you're back to a net zero. You're really awash with all of the guys that left and the guys that are coming in. And the thing that starts to balance any of that out or push you towards a positive is you haven't seen these guys in scarlet and cream. You haven't seen this coach's scheme come in. You haven't seen the adjustments. You haven't seen off-season development. But here's the thing with that last one. When's the last time we really saw someone other than Emmett Johnson make a giant off-season jump in the way they look from December to August?
Yeah. I don't know. It is a
maybe Ty and Nash. Like, because those guys from their second to last year to their last year, they looked significantly better when they got
I thought
out.
Bryce Benhart looked better. I mean, there's guys that have physically looked better, but it hasn't manifested in the style of play. You're not like this physically dominant team. You're not showing off that you have this endurance in the fourth quarter and running through teams with it because that hasn't been the style of what you've done. Like I understand when they came here, they had a vision of what they wanted this to look like, and it hasn't gone that way. But they also haven't played into those strengths. Like Matt Rule was known.
Keeps changing every season, though.
Because I don't think he knows how to win in the Big Ten. Like I genuinely don't think that I think he underestimated what the conference was when he got here. I think that college football has changed from when he had left in 2019. And here they are in year 4, and they still haven't figured out what they want to be as an offense. They haven't recruited to a position at running back that have really had any kind of hit rate at all. At wide receiver, they've amassed some real talent, but they haven't been able to unleash a passing offense. I think they've done a pretty good job in terms of tight end and even offensive line going out and recruiting it, but you haven't developed it to the point that we know what you have. I mean, some of that's the issue here. You've had all these classes. You don't really know what you have as players, so you got to go into the portal. You can't just spend money at key positions and go get 5 really important guys because you have to plug all these other holes. There's just so many questions. And again, it doesn't mean like when I'm talking like this, it's not that I think Nebraska is going to go 4-8 next year. It's not that I think that there's no hope at all for them to have success. It's just that I have a lot of doubt that there's a wide pathway to them winning a bunch of games. It feels like they need a lot of things to go right. They're going to need things to play out that haven't happened this year. They're going to have to be better in close games. They're going to have to force turnovers. They didn't do that for most of the 2025 season. So there's just things that have to occur before you can really trust what's going on here. And that's sort of where I feel like we're at, which is never what I thought it was supposed to be under Matt Rule. But so it goes. All right, let's dive into some blind rankings. And then after that, we will get back with a little more conversation before we hand out some free advice and then the college football playoff talk.
You're probably going to name somebody that I don't know, and I'm going to feel like an idiot.
The assistant coaches date back to roughly the 2011 season would have been the debut for the oldest that's on here. Okay. So you should know them.
I should, but I tell you what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to put Hoppin at 4.
Poor BC. I don't know that he's going to survive that one, but we'll see. We'll see. All right. We're going to start with one of those aforementioned coaches from 2011, was brought in to be the wide receiver coach for Bo Pelini when he shook up his staff in 2011, and that would be Rich Fisher. Presided over the room that included bringing in guys like Alonzo Moore. I don't know that he was instrumental in bringing in Jordan Westerkamp, but he certainly coached him.
Yeah.
Basically, all the guys that Keith Williams had good success with started really with Rich Fisher.
Yeah, and you saw Anunwa was with him as well.
Kenny Bell, but I think they had arrived before Rich Fisher had.
Yeah, but still, like, if you're coaching those guys, to me, it's like there is some added bonus if you are the one who recruited them and then you coach them as well. But there's been so much turnover over the last 2 decades. You don't get to recruit a lot of guys, then coach them through their whole career. But that, like, when you start naming, and I did this last summer with the all quarter century team, and you're going, okay, for that position for wide receivers, you're kind of naming guys from that era. You're kind of naming guys from 2010 to 2015-ish, 2018, depending on how far you go. I'll go, even with that, I'll go 4.
Ooh, okay.
I'll go 4.
Well, next up, part of the Mike Riley staff brought with him from Oregon State, we have offensive line coach Mike Cavanaugh.
Okay. I'll go 5.
Mike Cavanaugh at 5.
Mike Cavanaugh at 5. Again, when you're looking at where offensive linemen were, and this wasn't just a Mike Riley thing, this wasn't just a Mike Cavanaugh thing, but you had a lot of guys not put up great, like they weren't all Big Ten guys, and then they go get drafted in the NFL. And it's like, oh, they go and have a decent NFL career. Like that was obviously we saw it Scott Frost, but it was happening under Cavanaugh too.
Number 3, we are going to go back to the 2011 staff, was hired to be the linebackers coach, eventually was doing special teams, and then was the recruiting coordinator, the creator of Big Red Weekend, Ross Ells. This is the one that I figured you'd have the least frame of reference for.
This is the one that I've got the least frame of reference for. So I guess I'll just go 3. We've got 1 and 2 open.
It's not going to get a whole lot better.
Oh, great.
Now we're going to the Scott Frost staff, a man of mystery, a man who loves his cigars, a friend to the radio stations, Mario Verduzco.
1.
Mario goes at 1.
I was secretly hoping we were going to get Verduzco. What a great interview.
Yeah.
Just every single time. And it's it's a little bit different now where we get the head coach twice. Like during a game week, you get Matt Rule on Monday and Thursday, and then you get just the coordinators on Tuesday. But if we go back a few years, we used to get a rotation of assistant coaches in the middle of the week too. You got your linebackers coach. You got all these different stories to come out. And yeah, if Verduzco or whoever was the quarterback's coach was out there, immediately, hey, how's Heinrich Harburg looking? Well, he's not traveling with us. Like, you're getting all these other conversations to come out. Wonderful for us and our job and what we do. I also think it was wonderful for the fan base to get some of those different stories that don't come up because you're only talking to the head coach or the coordinators. But man, what a cool cat. What a cool cat.
I always enjoyed them. To be honest, I enjoyed all these guys. Like, all of them were very easy to work with for me. Here's the last one. I'll be curious if you even remember him. I think it was a little bit before your time. Defensive line coach, Mike Riley era, 1 season, Hank Hughes.
I do not even remember that. No. No.
He looks like a 10% Ron Perlman.
Hank Hughes. Tell me, Google machine.
He was the defensive line coach for the 2015 season. Nebraska moved on. They brought in John Perella. Hank Hughes, good friends with Mark Banker. I believe that's why he he ended up with the job that he had. But yeah, you have Hank Hughes too. So let's run through this. Mario Verduzco 1, Hank Hughes 2, Ross Ells 3, Rich Fisher 4, Mike Cavanaugh 5. This was a tougher one for sure.
I can tell you this. Anything that has Mario Verduzco at number 1, which is probably that's the only coach that I actually covered out of those 5. That might be worse than BC's basketball ranking, like top to bottom. Even with like 2 greats at 4 and 5, that might be your worst blind ranking you've done over the last, I guess, 6
You were not set up for a ton of success with it. I will be the first.
What, you're saying I could have done more in the portal?
You could have. All right, let's because I know this is going to be part of free advice, so we'll get to it a little bit before the free advice. But let's talk a little Mike Ekeler. He's still Nebraska's special teams coordinator, at least in name right now. Matt Rule talked about it on Friday night as part of his appearance on Sports Nightly. Basically said, the same thing he said in the Zach Gelb podcast appearance he had the day before. Nebraska made the extension offer, and Mike Ekeler just seemingly doesn't want to be at Nebraska a year after telling Matt Rule the reason he wanted the job is he wanted to come home. He wanted to come back to Nebraska. What did you make of kind of the 2 days of Matt Rule sort of jumping in front of this before it kind of happens here? Just kind of say like, hey, we did what we could and he didn't want to stay here. Also, we think that we're going to be just fine using his system, even if it doesn't mean having him.
Well, and you go back, he actually talked about what it would look like if Ekeler left. I can't remember if it was just before the bowl game or if it was in November, but I remember him saying, we're like paraphrasing, we're doing well enough on special teams that if Ekeler was gone, we have his system in place and the people that know it, and we would be fine. So paraphrasing where that was sometime late in the season, maybe before the bowl game. But all of that came, as we learned this last week, after Rule had offered an extension to make him one of the highest paid coordinators in the country, especially for special teams coordinators. So obviously he didn't want that. He wants something else. The word is he wants to coach defense too, a position. It was interesting to get some of the reporting that was coming out early in the week and even stuff a little bit ahead of that kind of rumors. But then you get the Zach Gelb show and he flat out answers it, brings up the extension and says, yeah, I don't know if he'll be back. And then you go on Sports Nightly and, well, if he's 1 foot in and 1 foot out, then that's his problem and not mine. Like, okay. We've gotten increasingly aggressive in the way we talk about it as the week goes on, which I think tells everyone that Ekeler is going to be gone because that sounds like a strained relationship. And you can see the strain, Mike. I don't think it has anything to do with the Mike Ekeler excitement on the sideline and Rule not wanting to get punched or whatever all of that stuff was. But Ekeler clearly wants something in his career, and Rule clearly wanted somebody like Ekeler to just do special teams and wanted to allow his defensive coordinator to run his defensive staff other than Addison Williams. He was very upfront before he hired anyone that Addison Williams was staying, and then it was kind of up to the DC. So, I'm on the side of it sucks that that's a guy who came in and clearly did more for your special teams than what you had. The decision making on the coaching side of that looked off the last 4 or 5 games, like the back half of the season. It was an issue when you were at the Las Vegas Bowl, although I'll salvage that part of it for Ekeler and the special teams and that you were getting down. So you don't want to hurt yourself. And I'm always the one of just take the yards. Whatever your most positive yards are, just take it at the 25. But if you're losing, and I do this when I play the video game too, if you're losing, you have to try to make something happen. And if that's a time with the ball in the hands of a guy who's otherwise not going to touch the ball because of the way your offense is going, let them try to make something in space. And sometimes you're going to start inside of your own 20, inside of your own 15. But you're also losing by 3 touchdowns. So you got to try to make something happen. So, like, that's not, to me, that wasn't the issue. Ja'Cory Barney trying to make something happen late in a game when you're getting routed. That's not an issue. That's not the issue to me. The issue is obviously their relationships wanted different things out of it by the end of the season.
Yeah, and I've been harsh, and I don't think unfairly so, but I've been pretty harsh on sort of the offseason for Matt Rule and all of this. This I don't think is something he can control. I mean, like if Mike Ekeler came here under the understanding that he was going to be the special teams coach and this is where he wanted to be, and then you tried to pay him more money because he had done a really good job and it doesn't work out in that way. I just don't think that's a Matt Rule. He's got to do what's best for him, the program. And it seems like Mike Ekeler has decided he wants more than just being the special teams coach. I'm fine with how this has sort of played out. The one hesitancy I have, and the thing that I think Rule could have avoided on Friday, is he didn't need to like say that you're going to be better next year. He didn't need the sort of parting shot about for the glory of the team and not the special teams coach. It just there's just times where it's like, okay, you made the point, stop. And it just goes a little bit too far. And is it a big deal? No. Is it going to be the sort of thing that we think about beyond this week or this month? Not really. But a lot of it is, it comes back to, and we've seen it before. He goes, in 2024, he says that Ed Foley's the guy to fix it for special teams, and then it never gets fixed. Like, you can acknowledge that you have a problem, but then don't guarantee us that it's going to be better. Don't tell us that this is what you're going to do when you can't actually do it, or when you don't do the things that would allow you to do it. I think that's where some of this issue comes from. And for me, it just feels like a guy who's trying to get himself to believe what he's saying at the same time that he's trying to get the fan base to believe what he's saying. And it just, the whole vibe of this offseason has felt off really since the moment the USC game ended. And it just felt like a clock had started at that point in time. And that was still in the regular season. So you get through those 3 weeks or those 3 games, and we get into early December, and coaches are starting to be let go. And every time he talks, he's mentioning, I think you brought this up last week. I mean, he's mentioning the prior staffs. He's mentioning all these different things that he had gone out of his way not to do before. And it just, there's something that feels off about Nebraska football beyond just they've had a couple so years in a row and it's time to win football games. Now it just feels like he's trying to convince himself, let alone everyone else.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can convince me to be like in your corner. And this isn't me saying like I'm out on Rule or I'm against, I want everything to fail, so he's right. I'm absolutely not saying that. What I'm saying is it makes it easier for people to like you if they are more understanding of the, hey, it did kind of suck when I got here, but I'm not going to throw those guys under the bus. We're working on us. This is the situation I signed up for and I'm getting paid to do. And then now going forward, it's like, it's whatever we do with this opportunity. And that's what he did for the first 3 years. And then you got into kind of like bowl season, and Rule, like you said, he started to talk a lot more about it. You have this where it's like parting shots at Mike Ekeler, as opposed to the kind of the thing we've always seen, and we'll continue to see it, where it's one of us. If you've worked with Rule or if you've played for Rule, you're pretty much forever OOU in his eyes and in his organization. But the more you lean into the, I'm going to blame somebody, I'm going to have this complaint in my back pocket, now going back to the money thing after you just got a big extension, like bringing those up more and more doesn't do well to further ingratiate yourself with a fan base who just saw, yes, it hadn't happened in a long time. Very good at bringing it back up. It'd been a while, but it's still back-to-back 7 and 6 seasons. And I know, like, you had the starting quarterback get hurt. You don't know how USC goes. You don't know how the rest of November goes. Maybe all of that changes. But it just feels like he's leaning more into the not my fault stuff that gives me less confidence in the, oh, he's confident that things are going right or going in the right direction.
Yeah. No, I accept and believe all of that. It dovetails with how I feel about things as well. And we'll see as he continues to make comments throughout the offseason, but it just feels like it's a noticeable departure in how he's talking and what he's saying and what the messaging is on top of all of it. So we shall see. Speaking of messaging, we can offer some messaging here at Free Advice, which we like to give away on Monday. Any place you'd like to start, Caleb? I'll give you the floor.
I would like to start with some free advice for a man at least 3 times my age, Kent Pavelka. Take some more deep breaths, my guy. It has been an exciting run to get to 18-0. We saw the Price Sanford picture. He's like, yeah, I hit another 3. The fans are going nuts. Fred Hoiberg is over there like, man, we need to rebound better. The other team is looking all sad. Kent is like, he's about to jump out of his seat. He probably got more airtime there than a regular rink masked jump ball at the beginning of a game. I need that man to take some deep breaths. We're halfway through this season. Please, Kent, work on that breathing. Do some yoga on the off days, today included. And we are so enjoying listening to you and firing it back up 8 p.m. Wednesday night.
I'll go for some basketball free advice here. Free advice, rink mass. Savor these weeks when Nebraska can get you off your feet. Maybe you can petition to get a rocking chair or something for yourself so you can just kind of kick up a little bit. Only 36 minutes or 37 minutes played between Oregon and Northwestern. You played that many minutes alone in the Illinois game or against Michigan State. You're probably going to need to play that many minutes against Michigan here in the coming weeks. So let's get you off your feet. Let's get you kicked up a little bit. Let's make sure that everything feels good. Let the young pups go to work. Let them close out the games. We want to make sure that rink mass is good for the long haul.
Some free advice for the girl dads out there. Pick up a football. I know this is the thing where it's like, hey, you're in the Cornhusker state, and if it's a girl, you play volleyball. If it's a boy, you play football, and you hope they put on the scarlet and cream. Pick up that football too, because there's only so many roster spots for a very, very good Nebraska volleyball program. You are now opening up spots for a Cornhusker flag football team coming in 2028. You're going to start to get scholarships this fall. You'll get a team going when the LA Olympic year. Maybe they're further off than just being the next couple of seasons. Pick up a football, have them running around, because guess what? That is still going to be a Cornhusker athlete you can have coming out of your family in some of the first years to build on whatever legacy comes out of women's flag football at Nebraska.
Free advice for Nebraska as they look to close down this portal season. There's only like a day left for them to be able to add for at least the second semester here.
Yeah, academic calendar's running up against it here.
Just go get the best player available at this point. Whatever you can do, just add the best singular player that you can get. Who knows? It could be someone that could help you out long term. It could be the safety from Ohio State. We'll learn more about him on Thursday from Tim, or if he pops up committing here or wherever else. I know there's plenty of schools that are interested. Just add another player. Why not? Just add it. We'll see what happens.
Can't wait to get that third string long snapper, because that's best available.
Hey, if it works, it works. We know you're not using the money on running backs.
Yeah, there's not money for it.
There must have been money left over from the defensive lineman that you weren't able to secure.
Oh, Berberia. I had my free advice there, and I just forgot it. If you've got another
I'm sorry.
I'll try to remember it.
Free advice, Mike Schaefer. Stop talking.
Gosh, I honestly can't remember it. I've ruined the segment now.
That's all right. I ruined it myself by talking through you. All right. Well,
here we go.
There it is.
I've got it. Free advice for the Nebraska running backs who are still on the roster. Play this episode on repeat every single day. Play the first 15 minutes of this episode every single day when you wake up in the morning and you go to your workout. Play it again when you're going to rehab. Play it again before you go to bed. Read all of the stories that we've written about how Nebraska needs to add a transfer portal running back because of what you guys have not shown on the field in games. And prove us absolutely wrong. Please. That's not even free advice. That's me begging for you to make that happen, because my life and all of our lives are better when you guys are successful. So please go do that.
I like that. That's a good one to end on. Kaleb, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it. What is your college football playoff prediction for tonight's game?
Fernando throws for 300 yards. Indiana wins by 2 scores.
He hasn't thrown for that many yards in a while. They've been a very balanced attack, and they have a lot of short fields, and they just dominate and make other teams feel bad about even trying to play football.
Yeah, screw the U.
Screw the U. All right, I have Indiana as well. I think the Hoosiers complete the season, and then I think we get a lot of talk about whether they are the best football team of all time. No one would have won more games, I believe.
Not team, best season perhaps, but not team.
Yeah. I certainly don't think it's the best team, but an incredible season should Indiana pull it off. We will find out that tonight. We'll be back on Tuesday. Chris Bassnett, remember him? Remember, He used to cover Nebraska basketball. He joins to talk on a Nebraska basketball Tuesday. We will cover a lot of ground, and it's going to be a ton of fun as we talk about the now number 7 ranked Nebraska basketball program. Not high enough for some of you, still higher than most of us could have ever imagined. What a season. Nebraska Basketball Tuesday. Unemployed with Mike Schaefer will return.